So, hi everyone. I am Dr. Rebecca Hertel. I'm a board certified osteopathic physician and a menopause specialist. And today I have the amazing and lovely Joey Mancuso Alice. She is the CEO and co-owner of Sterling River Spa here locally. She's absolutely fantastic. I
Thank
see
you.
her and I don't like to share her, but I have to. And and I'm
I
gonna
know.
she's been doing this gig for many, many years. She's also a makeup artist as well. And so I'm going to let you just
Mhm.
kind of tell everybody how long, when you started in this field and how long you've been doing it, and then we can get
Yeah,
into skin changes
perfect.
and things like that.
So I have been in the field for about 20 years. I started when I was 19. I graduated Tony and Guy Hairdressing Academy, and then I moved out to California. I went to the Joe Blasco School of Makeup and Aesthetics out there in LA. Tried to make it out there. I wanted to do movie makeup, but that really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So then I came back home to Erie. I worked at a few different local spas, and then about going on 4 years now, I opened up my own space.
That's
So it's
awesome.
been nice. Yeah. Learned a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, what kind of things are you doing in your own space in the salon?
So we do everything. We do everything except for hair and nails. So we do massage, makeup, facials, waxing, lashes, brows, kind of all things beauty that don't deal with the fingernails or the hair on your head.
Okay. All right. And so you have a pretty wide range of clientele from
Yeah, for
like kind of
sure.
like your tweens all the way up
Yeah.
to
Yep.
postmenopausal, would you say?
You have to be at least 12 to come in.
Okay.
So our youngest client is about 12. We have a few, 12 to 15 year olds. And then we go all the way up. I have a client who's 89 years old. She's a regular once a month. She has the most beautiful skin I think I've ever seen. I always ask her tips and tricks for what she uses because her skin is beautiful. But yeah,
Yes.
we've got them all over the map, all different ages.
So what have you noticed then as since you have such a nice variety, what are you seeing, let's say in your mid to late 30s up to
Yeah.
your 89-year-old, what types of, let's start with skin first. What type of skin
Yeah.
changes do you typically see?
I think the biggest complaint most clients have would be the hyperpigmentation, the sunspots. They're always wanting to know how to get rid of those, lighten those up, which is tough. Because even if you get those spots lasered off, a lot of the times they can come back. And those spots get worse in the sun. So obviously, I always tell everybody SPF should be your best friend daily,
Yeah,
even in the winter time. But I've
every
noticed,
day.
a
Yeah.
lot of the time, yeah, every day. The side of your face from driving, that's always worse than the other side. I would say the thinning of the skin around the eyes, even on the lids. I've noticed, a lot of women in the peri to menopausal ages, they get redness around the nose, like they almost get like broken capillaries.
Yeah.
That's always a big
Like a
complaint.
rosacea,
Yeah.
like on the cheeks and around the
Yep.
nose.
Yep. Yeah. Where it just looks, you can see like the veiny.
Yes.
And then of course, issues with the neck and jawline. They complain about
Mhm.
jowls and, neck aging. And that's probably the most, you know, common with most women that I get the complaints of. And I think that those are kind of the hardest to treat. It's not really like you can just go out and fix those overnight. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I would say.
And so what types of things are they coming to you for, and what types of things are working for them?
Well, I always, you and I think both do this. I can't say enough good things about the tretinoin, which obviously
Hmm.
has to be prescription only, but I really do believe that that is almost like the fountain of youth for skin.
Absolutely. If I was
That's
on
the
a deserted island, that would be, besides sunscreen, that would be my,
100%
we've
same.
talked about
I
this, right?
swear. Yeah, yeah. And I think the
Sunscreen
biggest
and our
problem,
tretinoin for sure.
100%. And I think the biggest problem with tretinoin is, I'll tell women, you need to use tretinoin if it helps with everything from acne to aging to the dark
Yes.
spots. It's everything. But the problem is, and you and I again both know this, it's tough to start. I mean, it is brutal in the
It's tough.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us why. Tell us what happens with that.
You have well, they like the street term is the tretinoin or retinol uglies is what they call it,
Hmm.
which is about 2 weeks worth of scaliness,
Yeah.
dryness,
Like purging,
irritation.
all of
Yeah,
those, like
purging. Yeah, you can get
whatever
like
you
these
have.
cystic
Hmm.
pimples coming out that you never knew were there. it just kind of brings everything to the surface because it increases that cellular turnover so quickly
Yep.
that it just kind of brings out all the skeletons in the closet in your skin.
Yes.
And it makes your skin extremely sensitive. I know myself when I was first using it, even just kind of like pat drying my face after a shower, it like stung. And
Yes.
women, that'll happen to women and they're like, I can't use it, and they give up. But you have to kind of
Yep.
learn how to use it. I remember you had taught me about like the sandwich method where you put your moisturizer on first and then
Yep.
the Brett Trenton, or you
Yep.
had said you can even use it as a mask at first.
Yep. That's right.
So you
Leave it
kind of
on
have
for
to play
15
around with it.
minutes and
Yeah.
wash it off.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
That's
even
right.
in my own skin, I feel like that's probably been the number one product for myself. And I
Yep.
think it
Yep.
can
I
help. And even
agree.
I put it on my neck, my
Yeah.
décolleté, I put it on the back
Yep.
of
You
my
can even
hand.
a little, you got it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
All
I
those
did the same
spots.
thing.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes it can, do you ever find that women who are using the tretinoin, are they more sensitive when you're doing like their facials to
Oh
certain,
yeah, for sure.
like they
Yeah.
need to let you know, right?
Oh yeah.
So
That's one of the things I'll ask a new client is if they're using tretinoin because we have to be really careful about waxing their face because you can
yes.
pull the skin. There's certain things we have to do differently than we would for someone who's not using a tretinoin.
Yeah. Do you think with even like laminating eyebrows, does that make a difference too? Do
For
you think as
sure.
well?
Yeah. Yeah. We have to use like a lot of oil-based things with someone with
Mhm.
tretinoin because that oil will act as like a layer of protection over the skin versus just kind of going in without any type of an oil for someone who's not. It's similar to using Accutane. It's kind of the
Mhm.
same concept where it just makes the skin so sensitive that you have to really work with that in mind.
Yep. And I think a lot of times women will forget that you're really using like that wide brim hat, even if you're using sunscreen when you're
Yes.
using the
Yeah.
tretinoin. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
still have to wear a hat,
Same.
and sun exposure and wrinkles and aging
Hmm.
skin that
Yeah.
makes such a big difference with it too with someone. I mean, that woman, she probably doesn't ever put her face in the sun.
Oh no, she's been using retinols since for like 50 years. She was kind of the first time that I saw like, wow, and she even says
Yes.
if I would have started this in my 20s, I'd look even better. But she started it, in her late 30s, early 40s, and she's almost 90 and her skin is beautiful. So I
Yeah.
truly believe in it.
Yep, I agree. And do you find that kind of during this transition, do you find that how many different skin types are these women struggling with like dry skin? Are they struggling with oily skin? Are they struggling almost with like this I've heard this concept in my like menopause space before, like it's like puberty in reverse, they're
I
starting to
was
break
just gonna
out
say,
again. Yeah.
yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I've seen a lot of lately is they're coming in and they're like, listen, I never had acne before, not even as a teenager, and now look at me. And it's kind of all down in this hormonal
Yes.
area.
Hmm.
And there's really I feel like that's where I have to kind of step out and refer them to someone like you. Because I think that that's a little out of my wheelhouse. When
That's
it's
like
when I can
treating.
tell that it's very internal because
Yeah.
it seems super hormonal.
But it's a nice conversation to have while you're sitting there and you're
Yeah.
just like, hey,
Hmm.
are you going through like a transition? You might have to
Yeah. Oh yeah.
talk to a menopause specialist about
Yes.
this, which can really help with that because that those testosterone levels will start changing, and even if it's low, on some days it's still, it can be higher on other days, or maybe it's high for them, and that's why they're getting more acne, and it just is
Yeah.
such a roller coaster of
Yeah.
hormones with that estrogen and progesterone and
Yeah.
testosterone, and
Well, even on
um
that same note of that you talk about the testosterone, that's another thing we see too is the hair growth in those
mhm,
areas. Women are like, look at I've got, we were waxing women's chins before that have been seeing me for all
yes,
these years and we've never had to do that.
yeah, and
So,
and it's weird because some of those women I'll find like low serum testosterone and they're still getting like little chin hairs, because when I do put them on T, I have to warn them like you might notice it a little bit more even though it's low, because it works differently, on the face versus the hair versus
yeah.
internally. It's just such an interesting hormone in itself. And
Hmm.
what about like, okay, so definitely, skincare. So what are some like really good recommendations? And maybe it's for everybody, but definitely in
Hmm.
this transition of women in perimenopausally and menopausally skincare routine. Do you have one that
Um,
you're like, you need to do this every day?
Well, I don't know that well, besides obviously the tretinoin that we spoke about, incorporating a vitamin C, I think even orally as well as topically, having a nice facial cleanser that has vitamin C in it. I always, recommend collagen, orally as a supplement with the vitamin C. I think those work well together because they say if you don't take collagen with the vitamin C or the collagen just passes through your system too quickly. So the vitamin C kind of helps lock it in. So that's something that I always recommend to clients, or the products that have some of the AHAs in them, like the niacinamide, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
one. The Ordinary has actually a lot of really affordable topical little serums that I really like. They have the niacinamide. What is the other one that they have? Like the squalene, things like that. If you are using your tretinoin and that might be too strong for you to use every day, you could then do like the niacinamide or the azelaic acid, things like that you find that work better for you as opposed to using like a tretinoin every day. But just something, I think it's important not to do too much. There's like that fine line of
There is.
people
There
are doing
like there's
too
so
much
many
skincare.
products that. Hmm.
Yes, yes. You kind of have to let your skin breathe a bit, but I definitely think that you want to focus on things that are going to get those cells moving, because as we age, that process happens a lot slower.
Right.
There's
Absolutely.
also a mask. There's a mask. It's called, I wrote it down because I have it in my bathroom. It's called Blue Lagoon Silica Mud Mask. I just
Okay.
started using it. It's like highly rated. But it's from algae and silica from the Blue Lagoon. It tightens I promise you, I've been using this before I have an event, and it's like an instant facelift. You put it on for 15 minutes.
Okay.
They say to use it like once or twice a week. I find it's a little too strong for me to do more than once a week. I've actually only been using it before an event. But I put that on, and when you take it off, it's just like, wow, like you have no
You
pores. I
glow.
mean, it really
Okay.
brightens it. And you can put it right under the eyes, right on top of the lid, and just let it all sit. And it just really tightens almost instantly. It's a very nice product.
All right. Awesome.
That's another thing, too, I recommend for clients. We have to be really careful with this skin. I find a lot of my clients that are using these stronger products as we age, they're coming in and they're like, I don't know what's going on with my eyelids. They're bright
Yes.
red, they're blistery down here, and I'm like, it's because you're putting that stuff. You should always have a
Yes.
separate product for the here, as
Yep.
you do for your whole face. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. Nope. That is really good. And taking off your makeup and everything before you go to bed,
Yes,
like that. But a night
yes,
routine. Any
yeah.
general recommendations for a night routine?
I think the one thing I've been seeing a lot of lately is clients coming in saying that they use like micellar water to remove their makeup, which is great. But I also want to remind everyone that you need to rinse that off because that's actually a soap itself. So I'm seeing that people are kind of breaking out or getting dry spots where they're removing their makeup because they're using the micellar water, but they're not, that's actually has like the components of soap. So we
Yeah.
need to be using that and then rinsing that off as well. But definitely, I think the number one rule, it doesn't matter how tired I am. That's the first thing I have to do when I get home before bed is take my makeup off. That will age you just as
Yeah.
fast as, smoking and sun exposure. You need to go to sleep with so that your pores can breathe, your skin can do all the work that it needs to do, and it can't do all that work if it's got makeup on.
Right. Yep. And I know that at
Mhm.
least for me, and definitely as I'm aging, if I can tell it gets almost irritated at the end of the day when, and there are
Yeah.
times I'm just like, I need to take my makeup off right now.
Oh
Like
yeah.
my skin's already
Yes.
starting to get irritated and, oily, or maybe it's getting dry and cakey. And
Mm-hmm.
so that'll go back into kind of like, makeup, even makeup and beauty tips for like the aging face.
Yeah.
We can't put our makeup on like we did when we were 20 or even maybe our
Correct.
early 30s. So when we're
Yeah.
starting to age, what are some good tips as far as just, brightening that face up and not making
Yeah.
it droop any more than it's
I
wanting
know.
to?
I think again, going back to what I've said earlier, with makeup, especially less is more for an approach for
Mhm.
makeup as we age. We don't want to be putting too much on. I think everybody needs to own a really good CC cream or BB cream, which is basically just kind of like if you can think of foundation mixed with moisturizer, that's what those are.
Mhm.
Um, Off the top of my head, I really like It Cosmetics has a nice one. It's SPF 50. It's got a real creamy base, but it's got enough coverage where you can kind of stack it. You can just put it on over your moisturizer and it just kind of evens out your skin tone. And then if you felt like you wanted a little bit more coverage, put a little bit more on. But I think we need to start getting away from extreme highlighting.
Mhm.
When you see, an older woman with a lot of highlight in this area, it kind of
Yep.
you have to understand that highlights highlight specific part of the face. So we want to get
Yeah.
into more like matte products versus like real highlighty shiny things because we kind of want to just not highlight any or
Soften those,
accentuate. Yeah.
kind of
I
soften that look.
think having a look, making your brows a little bit thicker as you age, I think is a nice tip because, thinning brows is a sign of aging. I know a lot of women, we lose our brow hairs as we get a little bit older. So
Yep.
making those look a little fuller has a nice, more youthful appearance. And then just remembering to kind of work upwards when we're putting our blush on, we kind of want to up,
Yep.
more in this area here, like the apple, raising the
Okay.
face up versus
hmm
dragging it down.
Yeah,
And
kind
then,
of like,
contouring here is always a nice thing, to
yeah.
kind of sharpen that jaw up a bit. But just
Yeah, and
everything,
because
you want to just work it up.
right. So everything is instead of being down here, we kind of want to be
Yes.
up here
Yep.
with our contour or our blush or
Yeah.
whatever we're doing. And then what about even the lips? Because you start to get lines in there. Again,
Yeah.
things start to point down.
Yes. That's another thing too. I know when we used to line our lips, we would kind of like open
The
and go all
whole
the way here. Now they're saying as we age, we should have our mouth closed and we're just lining just kind of like right to about here. We're taking out that
hmm
corner because when we line out that corner, it kind of tends to pull our mouth down. So we're
Makes
just
sense.
kind of wanting to only line from like here over. So keep your mouth completely shut. And then using lining not only your outer lips but even
hmm
lining your whole lip just to kind of give like a fuller pout, and then just maybe some
Yeah.
light gloss, not too much lipstick, because I think lipstick can be drying, very drying,
Yeah.
unless you get a really good one with a lot of moisture in it. But I think just the key is just to just have everything look really kind of really hydrated as far as using something that's going to be drying.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I see that a lot too, just, when people are coming in and because you start to even just lose some of that lip fullness. So then,
Yeah.
the lipstick will be kind of up. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's not even on
I
your lip.
know. I know, it's awful. And those lines that we get, they're just not forgiving at all, especially with the lipstick. That's mouth taping has become really popular. I don't know if you've tried that yet. It's
No.
it's hard to get used to at first because it's like, you're taping your mouth shut before bed. But they sell a lot of really nice mouth tapes on Amazon. I've been trying it for about just like almost a month now, and you just put a piece of tape over your mouth. It's supposed to help with the lines around your lips. It actually helps you, because you can only breathe through your nose, which I guess has benefits
hmm
while you sleep. So that's been an interesting
Maybe
thing
so
that
you're
I've been
not
trying
snoring.
lately. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a snorer anyways, but I
Right.
should get my husband to try. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll
We're
have
just
to
going
get
to tape
back
the
to you.
whole thing over
Yeah, we're just
them.
gonna tape you completely shut. So yeah, I mean, I'll get back to you, how that if I see any changes, but
Yeah.
apparently it helps with those fine lines around the mouth.
And probably just the way that you're holding your mouth, I would think too.
Yeah.
And so I know I
Hmm.
had some questions. I'll lead into that real quick about estradiol on the face. And so,
Yes.
yeah. And so this is an interesting tip and trick. And we talk, there's a really nice dermatologist who actually spoke at the Menopause Society. I think it was last year. And she had talked about how just your plain Jane vaginal estradiol can be used. And you just take a little bit on the fingers and, you dab in those areas around the eyes and
Hmm.
above, above the eyebrow, definitely around the mouth and even onto the neck, kind of the same areas that maybe you would dab your tretinoin in
Yeah.
and then just rub it all in. I have that. I've even put it just in my moisturizer. If I didn't want to dab, then it's just in the moisturizer and rub it all in. And so there are products out there that are really, really expensive that have like estradiol on there. But for women, most women over 40, they should have vaginal estrogen anyways for
Yeah.
prevention of that
Yeah.
area. So they can it's very, very inexpensive and they don't have to, pay hundreds of
And
dollars for
that's
that
such a
product.
good tip because
Yeah.
you would never think to use that same thing for your
No,
face. But
no.
and then they kind of price gouge people with, because it is a
Yep.
lot very expensive for the product to use on your face. If you're saying you can
Yes.
just use the same one, that's amazing.
Yeah, right. Cost Plus Drugs has it for like $13. I mean, it's a prescription, obviously, but the other ones, you don't if they're not prescription, you don't know what dosing of estradiol or even if
True.
that's
Yeah.
what it is in there, right? And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, so that's been used, and it's funny because a lot of our older patients probably already knew that and are using that
Yeah.
anyway. So,
See, they need to
and
start telling us what's going
yeah,
on.
exactly. And it's very minimally absorbed, if any at all, because it's local, it's not a systemic product. So you're not going to get like extra systemic estrogen. in there
Mm-hmm.
for, people that are concerned about that. So,
Yeah.
so lastly, just, so I know you're not in the hair field anymore,
Mhm.
but do you notice,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us notice like the thinning hair and
Mm-hmm.
usually a little bit more dry, things like
Yes.
that. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I think some of the things that we've seen are just like not washing it as much during the week
Yes.
because of that. So
Yes.
any tips on
You
that at
know,
all?
they've started recently putting hyaluronic acid in hair stuff. I don't know if you've noticed that. Garnier Fructis actually has a whole new line of hyaluronic acid. It's called hair filler, similar to like filler that
Yeah.
hyaluronic
Yeah.
acid. They're starting to put it in. I know Biolage has one. Like I said, the Garnier Fructis, it's kind of like an Olaplex concept,
Yeah.
but for a
Okay.
lot, for like a fraction
But
of the
not as,
price.
yes.
Yeah,
I've done like
yeah,
the Kerastase and,
exactly. Yes, yes, yes.
it's
And
not
it's
inexpensive.
no, not at all. And neither is the Garnier is actually kind of expensive for an over-the-counter shampoo. But I
Okay.
think finding something that has that hair bonding in it, like the Olaplex or something with hyaluronic acid, is huge because again, it's putting in something that's taken away. That normally, when we're younger, we have all this hyaluronic acid. As we
Yep.
age, we don't. And that can really affect your hair. So using something that has like a bonder to kind of just increase that cuticle and strengthen it will make the hair look thicker. As far as, I feel bad when I see women who are struggling because they think their hair is thinning. That's a
Yeah.
really tough one. I always suggest a lot of the times trying something simple as like going a little bit lighter. I know it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but when your hair's very dark, it's easier to see the thinness as versus if your hair's lighter. But
Hmm.
that's something. And then they make amazing over the counter products from even like Sally's, like little
The
they almost look like
fibers
a salt
and
and yes, they look
yes.
like a little salt and
Yeah.
pepper
It's
shaker.
great.
And
Because
yeah,
some
I'm
of
like, just
that
use that.
we don't have control over. We really
Exactly.
don't.
Yeah.
And there are some prescription things, like
Yeah.
certain minoxidils that you can put on there, but you can't stop those. Like once you stop
Right.
those, you're done,
Oh, I
right?
know.
Or
Yeah.
I mean, so if you don't want to go that route where you're taking an oral medicine or, or a prescribed topical medication, and I think women forget too that we shed. Like we go, our
Yes.
hair goes through these shedding
Yes.
cycles
Yeah. Well, I
and
say
some
it's
it's
so
stress,
frustrating.
right?
Yeah. Women are losing hair where they want it and then gaining hair down in
Yes,
here where we don't want it. It's like, wow,
you got
that's
it.
fun. Yeah.
Yep. It's,
So it's tough.
yeah.
Just one of the many joys of being a woman.
I know, I know. I've definitely noticed over my transition that I used to have to wash it often, and
Hmm.
I can only wash it twice a week. Like it
Yeah.
really gets so dry if I'm washing it more than, 2 or 3 times a week, and just being
Yeah.
very careful about the heat that I put on it
Yeah.
and,
Hmm. Yeah.
just to keep everything protected. And so it's not, and being careful with like how you're brushing it and you're not,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
damaging it even more and how you put it up, right? So I
Hmm.
think you guys told me to never go to bed with my hair wet and up in something. So
Yes.
that was something
Yes.
I changed. Yeah.
Yes. I tell people going to bed with your hair in a braid is like the best way you can sleep. It just
Yeah.
kind of protects the hair from, all the wear and tear of your pillow. Obviously, getting like a satin pillowcase is not only good
Yes.
for your
Yep.
hair, but
I've
it's
got
good for
that.
your skin as well. Yeah, so there's, little measures you can take that will make everything just a little bit easier. You
Yep.
might not
And,
notice the differences right away, but it is working.
yep. And I think what are your thoughts? But I think the take home, honestly, is just really, we got to just take care of our skin, even in our 20s, right? We got to
Yeah.
hydrate and we
Yes.
need to start taking really good care of it, and sun
Hmm.
protection when we're young. I mean, it
Yeah.
just makes such
It's
a big
so true.
difference as we're
Yeah.
aging, right?
Yeah, I mean, I look back on, my 17-year-old self and I could
Oh
just
gosh, I
slap myself
cringe.
for the tanning beds that I used to lay in on
Yep,
purpose. I mean, things like
I
that you
just
don't
cringe.
realize. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's SPF and trying to stay out of the sun as much as possible, just protecting, treating your skin like the delicate little fragile creature that it
right.
is, you
That's right. We
know?
have so many ways to
Hmm.
like bronze it if you want to. I use like
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
bronzing prime or
Yeah.
powder or whatnot to
Yeah.
get a nice little glow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep. That's all you need.
it's always a hat, always. And yeah,
Hmm.
I honestly probably didn't start doing that until I was in like my mid 30s. It was not good.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. It's, hey, at least it's better late than never, right?
I know, I know, I know. Well, this has been awesome. Any
Yeah,
other
so fun.
tips at all? I know you've given us some
I mean, yeah,
awesome
I'm
ones.
trying to, I don't know. I think I kind of
I think
hit them
I
all.
think you gave us everything,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
out of
try.
your
Yeah, I gave it my
toolbox at
all.
least. So
Yes.
I love it, and I'll like
Yeah,
tag everyone on here. And I
perfect.
really appreciate your time, especially on a Sunday.
Yes, yes, of
And
course.
I'm
And you
gonna
know what? I'll send you the link to that Blue Lagoon silica
yes,
mud mask,
yeah,
and
and I
maybe you
can
can
share
add
that.
that in because literally it's a game changer. Everybody needs to try it.
Okay. Yep, I
Yeah,
will
and
do
I'm
that.
not
That's
even
awesome.
sponsored or anything like that. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah.
product.
No, we get no nothing
Yeah,
from
you're right.
anyone.
Yeah, exactly. All
Awesome,
right,
Joy. Well,
Rebecca. Well, good
thank you
seeing
so much
you.
for taking time to speak
Yes,
with
this was
you.
fun.